Hello everyone. What would happen if I told you that you don't know that much about electronic warfare in C-Power? Probably you would tell me that you do. It's really easy to use electronic warfare planes to jam the enemy, right? You just bring the plane close to the enemy, you switch the jamming on, and everything's landing. Well, there's a lot more than that. Of course, there are things like ENCOM that you already know probably, but there's also ELINT, and there's also the difference between ESM, electronic support measures, and radar warning receivers. And those differences are very sharp. So if you want to know more about electronic warfare in C-Power, please stay with me and watch until the end of the video. I guarantee you are going to learn a lot. In the meantime, please let me remind you to like the video if you do like it. Comment down below, tell me what you learned from this video, and subscribe if you haven't yet. So without further ado, let's move into game. So we are in game already, and the first thing I'm going to teach you is about radar frequencies. This is a really important concept. Seems complicated, is not so much. Just bear with me. Let's go with a platform that has everything. So the Prowler. The Prowler is the most notable EW plane in the game, and for a good reason, because really is fitted to the brain with electronic warfare equipment. Now, ESM. What's an ESM? It's an electronic support measures. Probably you will know this. ESM is what picks enemy radar waves and detects them and tells you, hey, there's a radar emitting there. This is why ENCOM is so important. If you keep ENCOM, you are not emitting, the enemy is not going to detect you through ESM. Okay? But ESM has several caveats, and that's the kind of ESM that its platform carries. The EA6 has the best one in the game, essentially. ESM, electronic support measures, detected frequencies. This thing can detect VHF band, UHF band, L band, S band, C band, X band, Q band, K band, and KA band. Okay, what does this mean? Bear with me again, this is really easy to understand. This is listed from very low frequency to very high frequency. Okay, these are the most common radar emitters in the game. From very low frequency, VHF, to KA band. What's the difference? Okay, low frequency allows the radar wave to go very far, right? The high frequencies tend to have a much shorter range. So why not get every ship with a VHF band radar and get done within, right? Well, there are trade-offs. The lower the frequency, the longer the range, but the lower the resolution. Okay, so with a very low frequency radar, what you can know is that there's something out there very far away, but you don't know exactly where. You know, it's in an area. It's a diffuse contact. Okay. With a very high frequency radar, what you get is short range, but excellent resolution. You know exactly where that target is. Which are the uses of both? Where the lower on the frequency you go, the better the radar is going to be for early warning / long range in detection. The higher in the frequency you go, the opposite. It's not going to be very good for searching at long range, but it's going to be very good for tracking targets. Why do you want to track a target? To guide a missile against it. So fire control radars, they all usually are in the high mid of this spectrum. C, X, Q, K, KA. Meanwhile, the search radar are over there in the lower frequency spectrum. If you only have detectors with a given set of bands that you can detect, there are going to be radars that you won't be able to detect. In the same way, if you have a jammer that only jams a given selection of bands, and whatever is coming for you is using a totally different band, well, it turns out that jammer is useless. You have to keep this in mind, and we are going to see more about this now. This is the electronic support measures of the best platform in the game. Not everyone has this. Let's take a look, for instance, at this one, the caching, use the unit reference. We go to where it is here, Belslam ESM. Only has 2 bands. The funny thing about this ship, actually, the funny thing about this thing is you look at its search radar, which is the big net. This is a UHF band radar with a very long range, 200 miles. Well, turns out that if you have 2 cousins 100 miles apart, they can see each other, but they can't hear each other because they don't have the equipment for this. This is really important. Whenever you begin a scenario and you really want to be an expert in electronic warfare in the game, you need to know which bands of the ESM spectrum do you cover, and if you have any of them uncovered. This is particularly important against enemy search radars, because those are the longer range and those are the ones that probably are going to pick you up. Okay? It's also very important for another reason. These bands, let's go to the fire control radar of this ship, the caching. The caching has a head net. This is the L band. Well, the first thing you will know is that range is lower. It's a C band, L band, sorry, air control radar, fire control radar. This guy is the SAN-1 missiles in this ship. Now the thing is that if you want to shoot the radars on this guy down, you need a jammer that can be jam both the UHF and the L band. If you only have a jammer that can jam the L band, well, suddenly it turns out that the other one is still working. Okay? So whenever you go up in an electronic warfare plane or ship, actually there's a ship that has offensive. For instance, you have this. There's a R4 class. This is an Israeli attack missile craft. Has universal ECM jammer. This is an offensive jammer. The only problem is that they only covers the X band and the Q band. Those are fire control bands and frequencies. This is not going to shoot the enemy search radars off, but it's going to help you at the time of distracting enemy radar guided missiles, because if you jam them, they can't hit you. So here we are in a Prowler, which is the best platform to showcase ELINT, electronic intelligence, which is what ESM is used for. Well, we are at very low altitude and we are detecting nothing, and I can tell you there's something out there, mostly because I put it in. Okay, why are we not detecting anything? Well, even if flat earthers tell you otherwise, the earth is round, and the earth is round means there's a horizon and that there are things over the horizon that you can't see. Well, in order to pick anything in ESM, you need to have an unobstructed line of sight towards it, which means that something which is hidden under the horizon, you are not going to pick up with ESM. The same that you wouldn't pick anything that's on the horizon with a radar. So let's order 6,000 feet. Let's see what happens. And there we go. We cross 4,500 feet more or less, and suddenly we can detect the enemy. And we immediately recognize it. Why? Well, each radar has a unique signature, a unique set of frequencies, power, and intrinsic characteristics that allow you that if you listen to it, you can recognize it in the very same way that if someone is calling your name, you know just by ear who he is. Okay? Well, in this case, we have an Eudaloid, which I already knew because, again, I placed it in. Let's take a look at the Eudaloid. Let's stop the simulation. It has a strut pair, air search, palm front, this is a surface search, and crossword A search. Well, we are right now interested in the air search radars. Strut pair and crossword. Let's bring them here. You can see the difference. Crossword is the fire control radar for the Tor ship anti-aircraft missile, which is the SSN-9. X-band, 24 miles, very short range, but it's really precise and it's really accurate. Strut pair, S-band, lower frequency, much longer range. This is the search radar. So again, really important to conduct ELINT with your best vessel for it. In the case of the Americans, it's an EA-6B, but if you don't have a Prowler, well, you will have to look through your planes and see which one of them has the best ESM. So now, We know X-band, S-band. We have a jammer that can lock both, can jam both. The way jamming works in the game, and probably you probably know this already. This is the part of the video you probably know about how to jam enemies. Well, you come close enough that you are within range of your jammers, and you put the enemy under the cover of that jamming, and the target radar is switched off. But again, it's only the radars that are covered with the offensive ECM. Remember before the Israeli patrol boat? That only had 2 bands that covered. It only jams those, doesn't jam anymore. Okay, but in this case we can jam any of them. So what do we do? Well, we don't want to come at very high altitude. So what we do is to go back under the horizon. And once we are under the horizon, we come at very low altitude until we detect the enemy through radar waves. Why? Well, because when you are close enough that the enemy radar touches you, your offensive ECM can touch the enemy. Okay, we are detecting it again. It's at 24 miles. We can go towards it and we can begin emitting. Right click on the enemy that you want to jam. And now climb to 1000 feet. You don't need more. See this? This means that the enemy is jammed. It can't use its radar guided missiles. Be careful because it still can fire at you with guns, and those hurt. So try to stay at range. Now what I would do is to bring this here and tell this guy to loiter. And as long as it's within range, this Udaloy, its radars are shut down. It can't do anything with them. Probably this is the part that you already knew, but I'm going to tell you another thing, that not every platform has ESM. We are going to see it now. Okay, here we are again, and this time it's something very different. We have an F-14. Let's stop the simulation for a second. Okay, let's take a look at the F-14. Does anything strike you as strange here? Has no ESM. Has a RWR. That's a radar warning receiver. This is no ESM. Okay, differences between ESM and radar warning receiver. An ESM will warn you and tell you that there's a radar out there and that's emitting, and that's maybe it's detecting you, maybe it isn't detecting you. That's another thing. But it's telling you that, hey, there's a radar there that's emitting. Radar warning receiver doesn't do that. Radar warning receiver is centered on the most common guidance bands. These are focused on the fire control radars, and this equipment will only warn you whenever, okay, really important, whenever a radar is tracking you with a fire control mode, meaning they probably have shot at you. Let's see that in action. Well, do you remember that before at 4,500 feet we already were detecting the enemy? We are at almost 6,000 feet, nothing, because no ESM. This is really important, because don't make the mistake that thinking that just because you have a plane out there, it's going to hear anything that's emitting at it. Maybe its ESM doesn't have the proper frequencies, or maybe it doesn't have an ESM. Really important. So now what happens when we come close? It happens that we detect it through visual. And look at that. What's that? That's a missile. Now look at the minimap. I'm going to make it bigger so you can see. See this? This is a radar warning receiver. It's telling you, hey, there's something tracking at you now. You need to get the hell out of here, or you're going to have a very bad time. As you just saw. See the difference? ESM, radar warning receiver. Totally different things. Back at it. Okay. We are back in our F-14. We are going to climb again at 6,000 feet. And this is not because I want to suicide the plane again, but because I want to show you something else. Okay, let's go to unit reference. And another thing that probably jumped you when you saw it before, this. defensive ECM jammer. Click on it. Jam frequencies L band, S band, C band, X band, Q band. Okay, stop here. Defensive jamming is present in a lot of platforms in the game. However, this jamming operates in a different way than the offensive jamming. With offensive jamming, you shoot down whatever you are blocking. Okay, so you are within range, you switch on your jammer, and that blocks anything that's emitting within the bands that the jammer jams. Defensive ECM jammer is totally different. Defensive ECM jammer, what it does is interferes the bands that it's jamming. You don't have to switch it on, it's on by default. Okay, so whenever something is targeting you with a missile or whatever, this is going to act in your favor. You don't have to take care of it, you don't have to switch it on at all. However, whether the offensive jamming shuts down whatever is jamming, the defensive ECM doesn't. This adds a penalty. Okay, that means that whatever missile is going for you is going to have a penalty to hit in the dice roll that decides whether it hits you or not. But it doesn't shut it down. So don't think that because you have a defensive ECM jammer, you are immune, because you are not. You are just making life difficult to the enemy. There's another thing here, and that has to do with offensive jamming. Offensive jamming in the game doesn't work as it does in real life. In real life, it works in very different ways. There is no way to totally shut down a radar, no matter that you are jamming in its exact same frequency. In the game, it's like this. I hope they change it. But for now, well, I'm telling you what's in the game. I'm explaining you how it is in the game. But keep in mind, in real life, it's not like that. The footage you are watching right now, which is from one of my Spanish videos. I also have a channel in Spanish, by the way, if you want to check it out. Link is in the description. Anyway, you are seeing and watching SSN 19 attack. And if you pay attention, you will see on the upper right side of the screen that it's saying, well, the buffer of messages is telling that several missiles have been spoofed. That's defensive jamming working. Now, when a missile spoofs in these kind of scenarios, it can happen several things. One of them is that the missile just goes for the target and misses it. That's one of the things that can happen. The other one is that loses completely the track of the target that's pointing at, and that it acquires some other target. In this case, it actually went for some neutral mercants. It really ruined my score in this scenario, but it's how it goes. Defensive jamming is really powerful in surface ships against enemy missiles, and here's a good instance of that. Well, and that's it for this tutorial. I hope that after watching this, you have a better idea of how electronic warfare works in Sea Power. It's not just about wave jamming. In fact, I will say that the most important part of this video has absolutely nothing to do with jamming. Because remember, the most important thing in any kind of engagement, be it naval engagement, air engagement, or land engagement, is to know where the enemy is, and what the enemy is, and what they are doing. And electronic intelligence is a very powerful tool to do that. Also remember that it's very important that at the beginning of every scenario, you check on the bands that your ESM covers, because you might very well be detected and you don't even know that's the case. At any rate, if you like this video, if you like this tutorial, and if it helped you, well, please give me the thumbs up, the like, and anything you want to share, anything you want to say about this tutorial, any question you have to ask, I'll be happy to answer. I answer every comment, so feel free to post in the comment section below. Also share the video if you think it will help others, and if you want to support me through other means, well, you can go through Patreon, or you can become a member here in the channel in YouTube. Links down in the description. Thank you very much for watching, and see you later.